He was a very good boxer, but this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is
Here's the
terrifying.
thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power.
There and again, just operating on self-belief, but it isn't going to win Jake this fight. Him being ballsy is not going to win him this fight.
Joe Rogan reacts with shock as he talks about the huge size difference between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua during their face-off. He points out that Joshua is a giant heavyweight and an Olympic gold medalist, while Jake is stepping in against someone far beyond anything he has faced before. Rogan reminds viewers that Jake's toughest test was Anderson Silva, who was already 47 years old when they fought, making this new matchup something entirely different.
This guy you fought before was 40 years old, Anderson Silva. That was the toughest guy so far you fought? You've lost to Tommy Fury, who's a very good boxer, but this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is
Here's the thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch. And he's fast.
The host from the Wade Concept speaks with sharp clarity when he breaks down Jake Paul and his confidence going into this matchup. He says that self-belief is important, but there is a point where self-belief turns into denial. He feels that Jake is pushing that line too far. According to him, a fighter cannot rely on delusion when entering a ring with someone like Anthony Joshua. Joshua is not a test of mindset. He is a test of skill and physical truth. Wade says that Jake must take action that is rooted in reality rather than hype. Jake cannot expect that the tricks that worked against older veterans or inexperienced fighters will work here. Joshua hits too hard and reads body language too fast. Wade calls this matchup a brutal reality check because it forces Jake to step away from the world of promotion and into the world of real heavyweights. If Jake chooses honesty in his preparation, he might survive longer. But if he leans on delusion, he will walk into danger with no shield. The host insists that Jake must face the truth before he faces Joshua.
Out AJ. And in any other timeline, we'd all point and laugh. And some people still are pointing and laughing, but I'm just sitting here going, what has he seen that makes him believe that? Not only of what's happened to AJ, sure, he's been knocked out by Daniel Dubois, another 240-pound champion of the world, but what has he seen in himself that makes him think he's going to knock out AJ when he hasn't knocked out anyone since Mike Perry? And Mike Perry, as we know, is not a high-level boxer. He hasn't knocked out a high-level boxer. He could hurt Julio Cesar Chavez, but Chavez knew to cover up and not engage. Maybe he thinks AJ will engage with him, and AJ does do some bad things in the pocket. Again, we'll save it for another video, but the only thing I can think of, and I said it at the beginning of this video, is Jake is absolutely delusional, and he's convinced himself of what's going to happen based on very outlying data, right? The Daniel Dubois knockout, how he struggled with Usyk.
Hey, who are you fighting, when, and why?
I'm fighting Anthony Joshua because I'm fucking him.
What? I'm fighting Anthony Joshua because I'm him.
Holy shit, just let me take a second.
Is this motherfucker out of Dude, it's light work. Light work. Well, at least my good old friend Tyson Fury believes that I can win.
If Jake Paul fights Anthony Joshua, I'm putting £1 million on Jake Paul. I want some free money.
Smart man, Tyson.
I need to see a bet slip, Tyson. I know you got it like that these days. $1 million's like like a slight 10,000 to the rest of us, or maybe 1,000 after those couple of title fights with Alexander Usyk. But I need to see the bet slip. I saw the line when, and this is kind of crazy, I saw the line when the fight first got made, and we put it in the video. Jake was plus 800 to win. Jake has now moved to plus 650 to win. That's outright. I don't know by knockout, I'm not sure, but plus 800 was already like, okay, that's, that's a big underdog. And Joshua was like minus 1,500, but now Joshua's at minus 1,250 and Jake's at plus 650. This line is closing, and I'm wondering why. What are people seeing?
Make no mistake, this is the biggest fight of my career. I'm walking into the lion's den. I'm doing something that no one else has ever done before. I, Jake Joseph Paul, will knock out, defeat, and embarrass Anthony Joshua Friday, December 19th, live on Netflix. My voice cracked, I'm still going through puberty. The biggest fight of 2025, USA versus UK. He's got the belts, the size, the history, but I have the balls. Be careful what you wish for. Jake versus Joshua, Judgment Day. He has a 90% knockout ratio, but I have a 100% chance of drinking this.
The moment Jake Paul steps forward at the face-off, The entire arena feels the energy shift. Anthony Joshua stands tall and calm, while Jake has to raise his chin just to meet his eyes. It creates a picture that needs no explanation. One man is a seasoned heavyweight with Olympic glory and a long record of elite-level opponents, while the other is a cruiserweight influencer who climbed into boxing through a very different path. The posture tells its own story. Joshua carries the weight and presence of a natural heavyweight who has lived in the division his whole life. Jake tries to match that posture, but the physical difference is too strong to hide. The height, the reach, and the sheer frame of Joshua create a natural authority that Jake cannot replicate.
But I would argue the pressure is now all at Anthony Joshua. Like, Jake, to me, you can tell me if you think I'm wrong. If Jake gets this the second half of the fight, Jake can celebrate. Like, Jake's won. Like, if he gets the 5th round against Anthony Joshua, to me, he has won this event.
Yeah, but it's, I mean...
You're skeptical that will happen.
I mean, aren't you? I mean, like,
I am. I'm deeply skeptical, but I'm just saying now.
The difference in this kind of fight is once you get up close and anywhere near any kind of clinch or anything, and the worst thing for Jake is it's not that just that AJ explodes within a clinch. AJ can fight long, he can fight short. I mean, the right hand he won't see. I mean, we talk about the right hand that knocks out Francis Ngannou. Forget the right hand. Worry about the uppercut on the inside. Worry about the left hook. Worry about the jab. I mean, the jab could knock him spark out. I mean, that's the reality. But if he gets hit by anything, it's over. It's just how it's going to be over. You know, you're going to get him clean, or you're going to, beat him up to a position where the ref's just going to have to jump in. But listen, if it goes 4, 5, 6 rounds, listen, good luck to him. Like I say, he's not, he's done the camps, he's done the spars. It's not like this is a guy who's never fought before. He's just well out of his depth. And to be honest, you see a few people say, we see that every week on fight cards. Do you know what I mean? But this is obviously at an extreme level.
Angelo and Josh look at the fight with the eyes of analysts who understand levels in boxing. They say clearly that Jake Paul is not on the same level as Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. Joshua and Wilder belong to a class of fighters who can change a fight with one moment of timing. They carry power that comes from years of training and from natural heavyweight strength that smaller fighters cannot imitate. Angelo and Josh explain that Jake might be brave, but bravery is not a skill. Jake has never faced someone who can throw combinations with heavyweight force while also moving with polished technique. They point out that Jake has called out Wilder in the past, but that call-out shows how little he understands about elite heavyweights. Jake has not experienced the shock of heavyweight punches. They say that surviving Joshua is in itself a major challenge.
I just don't think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though. So he might be pretty good in those weight classes. Him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no. He gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he agreed to that fight. But the numbers, the numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe, or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN because Anthony Joshua has a contract with DAZN. And this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes, how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay? That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?
It's
Sean Jones watches the face-off and sees the moment Jake tries to stare Joshua down. Jake attempts to project toughness, but the moment Joshua steps closer, the energy shifts. He adds that intimidation rarely works on someone who has been in championship bouts in front of massive crowds. Jones then talks about Joshua and advises that Joshua should not place too much pressure on himself. He says that pressure can stiffen a fighter and make him overthink. Sean believes Joshua performs best when he fights in the flow without forcing a specific outcome. Joshua should allow the moment to unfold naturally, because forcing things can create mistakes.
Might lack in terms of his skill, Tyson Fury shines, and that's the movement, that long reach, the height, just the skill gap is insane. Tyson Fury would dance circles around Jake. He could beat Jake with one hand. Right, Joshua talks about how he's only focused on this fight. He's not overlooking Jake. There's nothing else booked for him. And he talks about some of the potential dangers of fighting Jake Paul.
Who are those opponents lined up for you in 2026?
My focus is on Jake Paul.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Is that true, though? Do you have those 2 fights lined up already?
They're not signed, they're not sealed, but they're opportunities, really. They're just opportunities in the game. But my main focus as signed and sealed is Jake Paul, so that's all I've got in front of me.
Do you agree with the assessment that if this fight goes longer than the Ngannou fight, it's kind of a...
No, Jake's a completely different fighter to Ngannou. Ngannou and Jake are completely different animals, so I can't compare the two together. Ngannou never boxed before either. Jake's boxed before. They're just different. Ngannou's a lot more slower, but a lot bigger and more powerful. Jake's quicker. Jake boxes in a completely different style. Ngannou's more upright. He can does switches southpaw and orthodox. Jake doesn't really do that. They're completely different fighters, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not trying to compare. At the end of the day, it's just what happens at the end of the night. I'm not in there to try and knock Jake out in 10 seconds or 8 rounds. I'm going to go in there and do a job. I want to really hurt him in the ring.
I think that's an important perspective that Joshua should keep going into this fight, is to not try and look for the knockout within a particular round. Do your thing. Forget about what Jake's doing. You're far more experienced. You're far more skilled. Don't put too much unnecessary pressure on yourself, because that's when sometimes you can throw a spanner in the works of your own game plan, because you've committed to this set prediction. And that's a sign of maturity there from Joshua. He's fighting Jake Paul. He could come in here and say, Jake's crap. I'm going to knock his head off. First round knockout. But he's not saying any of that. So they go back and forth for a little bit. Joshua just talks about how he's really focused. Then Ariel announces this fight is also taking place on the same card. Anderson Silva versus Tyron Woodley. Very interesting. I don't mind that matchup. I actually think within the realm of boxing and talking about retired MMA fighters, this is a pretty decent, even matchup. Anderson Silva, one of the best to ever do it in MMA. One of my favourite fighters. But he's getting a little bit old now against Tyron Woodley. Once again, an absolute...
Darren Barker looks closely at the footage of the face-off, and they highlight how Jake avoids eye contact. Barker explains that fighters usually meet eyes to show confidence and readiness. He notices that Jake glances away several times, and this reveals the psychological weight he feels in front of a true heavyweight. Joshua stays calm and steady while Jake shifts his posture. He says that Jake looks like someone who is aware of the danger standing right in front of him. They believe that Jake understands that this matchup is beyond anything he has experienced before. They also discuss how eye contact plays a role in pre-fight dynamics, because it shows who controls the space.
I'd rather just say, look, do you know what? This is a smash and grab. You can't blame me for taking this, but I'm sorry, Jake. You're going to get badly beaten up here. You're going to get badly.
He did say words to that effect in interviews afterwards.
Yeah, oh, did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But it is
because that's the case. That's the case.
There's a moment, though, it made me laugh. There's a moment where they do the face-off one-on-one like that, and then they turn to the side. Jake keeps on looking at his eyes, and then Joshua just goes like that, and Jake goes like that.
Does he?
Yeah, which I'd have done as well, by the way. But yeah, like that look told me that he knows he's so far in above his head.
And what was the other thing he said? He's willing to die in there, Jake Paul.
Yeah, well, he fucking will. He will. He's a knobhead. He's about there's no jokes aside. He genuinely could die.
Chael Sonnen comes in with his usual straightforward tone and asks whether Jake is being brave or simply reckless. He respects that Jake is taking on such a massive challenge, but he also questions the thought process behind it. Sonnen points out that bravery without preparation becomes dangerous. He says that Jake might be chasing glory rather than understanding the reality of the sport. Joshua is not a name you choose lightly. Sonnen believes that heavyweights create consequences with every punch, and those consequences can last long after the fight ends. He does not call Jake foolish, but he warns that there is a fine line between courage and ignorance. He says the answer depends on how well Jake prepares and whether Jake respects the threat in front of him.
Francis Ngannou performance. What if Jake makes it 5 rounds, 6 rounds? What if Jake made it to the distance? What if Jake won a round? Now, it's very hard to believe. It's very hard to imagine. I think it's the big struggle with this fight. I cannot, off the top of my head, produce a fight for you in any form of unarmed combat that drew, that was exciting, where the audience did not have a reasonable expectation, an expectation to some degree that, well, if he does this or that, there is a way for this guy to win. And that's usually pretty easy to do because nobody knows anything about fighting. Nobody watching this right now, none of you, my millions of viewers, not one of you has ever boxed. Not one of you knows someone in the family. Well, my dad was a boxer. My uncle was a boxer. No, you don't. Not only are you not a boxer, you don't even know of a boxer. Now, I only share that because when I come out and say nobody knows what they're talking about when they're talking about boxing, like, it's not meant to be an insult. You don't know anything about boxing. It was never taught to you. None of you in recess boxed. None of your junior highs, your high schools, your colleges, your community colleges offered boxing. Your hometown didn't have a boxing gym. Now really think about that. Because as much as you love the sport and as much as you think that you understand it, not only do you not understand it, you can't even have a conversation with other people who do because they don't understand it. So what is a win? I think that time counts. I think that time is a very big deal. You're in that little bitty ring, and I know a guy can run backwards, but running backwards is not illegal in boxing.
Adam Catterall gives his perspective with a measured voice. He talks about how Jake has built a strong brand and how he has improved as a boxer, but he stresses that improvement does not remove limits.
Proper fight, is it? Well, here's some proper talk then. If Anthony Joshua doesn't knock out Jake Paul within 6 minutes, it's embarrassing. Not only for him, but also for the sport of boxing. And if he does knock him out within 6 minutes, because it's a proper fight, boxing better pray that there's no lasting damage to Jake Paul. The phrase, fuck around and find out, springs to mind. This is not a game. You don't play boxing, especially not with a 2-time unified heavyweight world champion in his athletic prime. If you're gonna deal with clowns...
Fraser Clark offers an interesting angle when he says that fighting someone who is far below your level can become awkward. He means that Joshua might have to adjust to the unpredictable movements of someone who is not a traditional heavyweight. Jake does not move like a typical boxer in this weight class, and that can create strange exchanges. Clark explains that sometimes elite fighters struggle to find rhythm with someone unconventional. Still, Clark believes Joshua will adapt quickly. The awkwardness may last for a short moment, but the difference in skill and strength will take over. Clark respects Jake for stepping up, but he sees no realistic path where Jake can handle Joshua's natural gifts.
What is that? I mean, would you like to be involved in another fight like that? People say you don't get paid for overtime in boxing, so a first round knockout is always nice, but you welcome a fight like that Fabio first fight.
If it has to go there, it has to go there, but I'm all for an early night. I'm all for getting home before Emmerdale, me.
No, there you go. Well, you're main event now, so you'll be 10 o'clock, so you're not getting home before Emmerdale. A couple more before I let you go, Fraser. I've got to talk to you about this. It'll be remiss of me not to. Anthony Joshua is fighting Jake Paul. Now, if it goes past the first round, would you be disappointed?
No, because what you got to realise as well, like, I'm not sure how much of a mover he is. I've not watched too much of Jake Paul boxing, to be fair. But again, people won't understand when I say this. When you're boxing someone lesser than you, it can sometimes become awkward. And I know people are going to say, nah, look at the size of him. And yeah, AJ probably should be getting it done in one round, but this guy's going to be awkward. He's going to feel, he might even block a shot, and then he's going to think, fuck this, I'm not getting any more of them. He'll be on his bike. AJ obviously should be good enough to close him down and pound him to death. Not to death, but pound him, you know what I mean? But maybe 2 rounds. Maybe the first shot, I don't know.
Well, you said there, one final one for me, Fraser, because you probably want to just get some food in you now. Even though you're a heavyweight.
I just had food before we weighed in.
You mentioned there that you want to get home before Emmerdale, but you want to be in fantastic fights. That being said, you're up against TKV. He's a good opponent. What can we expect? I mean, you're going to be headlining the first fight on the BBC for the first time in 20 odd years. What can we expect? What can the fans expect from you that are watching on BBC?
Listen, I've worked hard. I'm not sure how I looked on the pictures, but I'm in the best shape I've been in.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next.